If you're talking about being resilient, you have to break it down to all of the people who have fiduciary responsibility at that company. What are we actually trying to do when we're talking about resiliency in cybersecurity? Keep it at a fifth grade level. What are we trying to achieve and how do we get there? And then you can build out your practice from there.
Hey everybody, and welcome to the Incident Report presented by Quest Technology Management. I'm Paul Burke, Director of Technology Communications. Every week, I'm joined by VP of Sales and Partnerships, Adam Burke. The Incident Report brings you conversations with thought leaders, business innovators, and channel mavericks to help you stay productive and agile in a changing technology landscape. Hey everybody, welcome to the Incident Report. I am half your host, Paul Burke, and 2 states away, our other host, but through the magic of technology, it sounds like we're in the same room. Adam, how are you doing?
Happy to be here, Paul, and don't break the fourth wall. No one knows that we're, about 600, 700 miles apart from each other, especially with your expert post-production editing, which is world-class, if I do say so myself.
Stop it. Adam, I'm blushing. I'm just red. How are you doing? What's going on?
Good. Excited to be here for our 24th episode, which is awesome.
We're opening this show with the intro of 24, the TV show.
For us elder millennials, that show was a staple and definitely can recognize the 24 o'clock, and Jack Bauer is like the Chuck Norris of our day.
What'd they have, like 30 seasons? How long was that on?
I think it ended up being about a week or 2 weeks. I'm not quite sure. I think altogether it was about a week of Jack Bauer's life. But yeah, I think 7 seasons.
Adam, how was your week? What was going on there?
So week was a lot of fun, and actually something I wanted to talk about, and I thought about it while I was on vacation. I had the pleasure of taking my 2 daughters with my wife to Disneyland. And for those of you who have not had the pleasure of going to Disneyland in the middle of July, it is an experience. It was a lot of fun, but I was actually very, very pleasantly surprised. And as a tech guy, as someone who works in the industry around applications and cybersecurity and different integration points, I was consistently blown away by the way they were able to integrate the experience, not only in the physical form when you're standing in line, moving from point A to point B, knowing where you are on the property, integrated with your smartphone, but also all the different integration points that you had with the different rides, different attractions, different dining experiences, reservations, notifications. I mean, this application, just from a gearhead tech geek kind of appreciation, was amazing. I hadn't been to Disneyland for about 3 or 4 years, and the amount of development and kind of perfection that went into that application, hands down, probably one of the best apps I've ever seen from a user experience. Having a family and trying to understand what you're doing, it was really cool.
So I'm wondering, how many times with the family were you trying to talk about how cool this app is from a technology standpoint? And they're like, we just kind of want to go on the rides.
Well, yeah. So that's one of the things, right? So you can pay for everything at Disneyland. The $10 waters get a little old, right? I think I probably spent over $200 in water. But what's really cool is you basically set up your time to ride different attractions, and it generates an individual QR code for each rider that associates that rider to that ride at a given point in time during the day. So it sounds easy, right? It sounds kind of easy, like, okay, yeah, this is your ticket, come back between 1 and 2. Yeah, that idea is, okay, come back to Thunder Mountain between 1 and 2. But each individual ticket holder, each individual person who is admitted to the park, based on their age and all the associated kind of pieces with that user, you're going there and it scans you in at that time. And then a little Big Brother-ish, but I was okay with it. They take your picture as you enter the park and associate your picture with your entire account record for your entire day there. The amount of things in the background that just were in place to make sure that me and my 2 kids and wife could get on a Thunder Mountain roller coaster between 1:20 and 2:20, the amount of input and coordination I had to have, because you have to scan that at the point of entry. And then it has to validate that you're there at the right time, the right people are there at the right time. I mean, we're in IT, we're in managed services. we all know there's a million different ways that that chain of events can break, but it was flawless. It worked out fantastic and there were thousands of people in the park that day.
And I'm wondering, does the app push particular advertisements to each person based on the rides they're enjoying and the locations they're frequenting?
The funny thing is that it does it in a way that is viewed by the user as beneficial, right? So they do it in a very clever way that is like, hey, I'm going to add value to your experience. Now they're selling you more stuff, but you see it as, oh, well, I'm here for these 2 days. They're optimizing my experience. Bless their beautiful capitalistic hearts. They have a My Day feature that shows like, hey, here's what we recommend for you to do.
Mickey Mouse wants the best for you, Adam. He's watching out for you.
He does, yes. And it was really, really cool. So yeah, you have your My Day feature, recommendations, but what was just so impressive, and I think I drove my wife and daughters crazy with this, was the amount of integration points. This wasn't just like, hey, based on the fact you hung out in Tomorrowland for and Googled a bunch of stuff about Tomorrowland, you should buy some Star Wars stuff. I mean, it was like scheduling your events. It was telling you the walk time, the resort time, the lead time to get there. You could order food from the app, have it delivered to you at a specific location in the park, like based on your geolocation. And then you couldn't even reserve a ride unless you were in that specific zone. You couldn't check into a restaurant unless you were less than 200 meters away from it. So really, really impressive with their tech.
Wait, somebody will they're just walking around with corn dogs trying to find you? Like
They'll
will
find
deliver you food?
They'll deliver you food. They'll
Wow.
deliver it to your hotel lobby. They'll deliver it to your room. There's mobile pickups everywhere. This is like, it was total game changer. I mean, if you're looking for the Cozy Cone Chili Con Queso in Cars Land, you can schedule that within a 5-minute window. It was fantastic. By the way, they also have blue milk at Star Wars, which I've never consumed blue milk before, but for Star Wars heads out there who watched, Luke Skywalker and A New Hope consume blue milk and wonder what it tastes like, they got it at Disneyland, and you can schedule a mobile pickup for it.
Wow. Nice. At what point did your family just run from you and say, get away? We got to just enjoy the rides.
About an hour, an
Okay.
hour and a half. Yeah, about an hour. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I enjoy a good pivot. I enjoy tying two stories together. And you mentioned how Disney is doing things and making it look like they're doing it for your benefit, but really they're trying to keep you in the app, and they're trying to push more products towards you. And Adam, that sounds a lot like our good friend TikTok, which you highlighted an article, and I think it's a really great article to get into. It's from Bloomberg, and it's about Gen Z uses TikTok like Google, upsetting the old internet order. And I think you made a great point. Brands are changing, they're shifting, where you and I are used to like using Google to like look up what restaurants to go to. I did not even know this, Adam, but people can use TikTok to look up restaurants in their area that they should go to. I'm actually probably going to try this now because I didn't know you could do that in TikTok.
Yes, and for anyone who has TikTok, I strongly suggest you delete it completely. But if you're not, and you do like the People's Republic of China having direct access into your private life, good call. Just kidding. Kind of kidding. Not really kidding.
Kidding. Wink.
For any litigious folks out there, totally kidding. But yeah, so TikTok is a different type of interface. And one of the things that I thought was really important about brand, and one of the vulnerabilities I think that TikTok has, is their branding is there, but they don't have the legacy search and the legacy like user base that the Googles and of the world have. I do see the younger generation and the new Gen Zs using this. In the article in Bloomberg that I think we're going to link to does talk about how 40% of young people today use TikTok or Instagram instead of Google. I'm not quite sure how that's going to transition and what's going to happen with TikTok going forward with some of their security policies and some of the way that they use and access people's devices. And again, kind of back to my random riff about Disney, the brand is so important in what's being delivered, and TikTok's taken some blows against their brand from a security perspective and just from how they're operating things. I know they're transitioning a lot of that data to Oracle Cloud, and they're trying to move that to US control. But at the end of the day, that platform is specifically manipulated, managed, and controlled by a foreign government that may or may not have the best interests of the American people in mind. So just be really cautious of that. Just be really, really aware maybe who you work with and who you do business with does matter.
Well, it's amazing too how quickly they silo you and figure out what to feed you constantly. So I wonder sometimes if it's just because they're providing such a steady, just relentless stream of, I'm going to use air quotes, information, that the younger generation just doesn't care about who is absorbing all their data. They see they're getting so much out of it that they don't care. Do you think that's a problem?
Yeah, it's constant dopamine hits, right? So just little tiny drips of dopamine when you see things that you like and you engage and you get these micro doses of little hits. It's an addictive platform that can really suck you in. We've all done it. I've done it. You jump on Instagram and you scroll through stories and then 20 minutes goes by and you're like, well, I could have read a book or article or something else. It is manipulative, so you do have to kind of take it in doses. And I couldn't imagine speaking for the younger generation how they're evaluating things, but I think it does lead to some instant gratification, and you're kind of getting what you want up front, and not quite as worried about the long-term consequences.
Really interesting article. We'll link it in the description.
Just from a security standpoint, definitely just always want to remind our customers, our partners, to read the usage and the customer use and how they're using your data. So read the T's and C's, take a look at it, take a look at how people are managing those things.
Great point, Adam. Check the T's and C's and see where that data is going. Up next, Datto's Rob Ray. There are no dumb questions about cyber resilience. This article comes from channelfutures.com. Ray, who is SVP of Business Development for Datto, a Kaseya company, cited massive opportunities for the channel. Position your cybersecurity offerings at a grade 5 level, Ray says. The MSP industry is a $185 billion market right now. We are in the golden age of managed services, said Ray. We are experiencing it and thriving, and we will continue to do that if we do it right. Adam, what does he mean at a grade 5 level? What is Ray talking about?
Ray is a fantastic presenter. If you've ever had the opportunity of watching him present, excellent guy to watch. And he's absolutely right. When he's talking about a grade 5 level, he means keep it very simple in the idea of what you're trying to achieve with cyber resiliency. You don't have to get very technical and down in the speeds and feeds because, there's a joke. I used to work with a guy who was at Accenture and was on a bunch of boards, and he'd always joke with me around, when the CTO would come and present to the board of directors, he'd do his hour pitch, he'd do his hour talk, he'd say, hello, thank you very much. He'd walk out of the room. And all the board members, they'd look to each other, look to the right, like, did anyone know what the hell that guy was talking about? No one knew what the hell that guy was talking about. Move on to the next thing. You can't afford to do that in cyber resilience. You can't afford to do that in cybersecurity. If you're talking about being resilient, you have to break it down to all of the people who have fiduciary responsibility at that company. What are we actually trying to do when we're talking about resiliency in cybersecurity? So layered security, email security, malware, protecting the endpoint, protecting the network, visibility of who's on the network. So like layering security and access control and knowing who people are, who they say they are when they have access to your environment. So you can throw around a lot of buzzwords and you can throw around a lot of like least permissions and multi-factor and all that kind of stuff. But what he's saying here, and what I agree with Rob on, is keep it at a 5th grade level. What are we trying to achieve and how do we get there? And then you can build out your practice from there.
Ray has a great quote in the article. Everybody is going to get attacked at some point. Is there anybody out there telling their clients they are 100% safe 100% of the time? Anyone who does that is lying. It would be a massive mistake to say that. So instead, cyber resilience is more of a score. We're essentially saying, if you follow my instructions, I'm going to make you as safe as possible. If you don't follow my instructions, you're probably not going to be as safe. And you deal with this all day with your clients. And they balance how much they want to pay versus how secure they want to be.
It's a business discussion, and that's where I think he says break it down to a score in resilience. Like, what does it mean? What's the risk? If you do this, what's the benefit? What's the risk if you don't? And that resiliency score is, we built out at Quest what's called a cyber defense suite, right? And 4 years ago, we built out a product offering around that cyber defense suite that were, three of the most common vectors we saw people get in trouble with when they'd come to us from an incident response standpoint. Incident response means that a bad actor something, malware, got access to your environment, an incident occurred, you're losing control or something bad is happening and you need help cleaning it up. So when those calls would come into us from people we didn't know yet and some people that we did, there were typically, 3 or 4 areas that that attack would usually start. So we built out a cyber defense suite around those 3, what are called attack vectors. We pivoted recently and we're moving some messaging around this to our cyber defense suite really includes and makes available to our clients everything from a cybersecurity standpoint, right? So everything from endpoint protection to network segmentation, zero trust, everything that we have is in this suite of services. And we just walk our clients through the idea of what are the risks and benefits of implementing these different pieces of the cyber defense suite. And some clients already have them, right? So the idea of having secure off-net backups and immutable storage and all sorts of good things in the cyber defense suite, that's a way that you walk a client through like, okay, here's you can spend millions of dollars on cybersecurity. Not everybody has millions of dollars. What's the benefit and the risk of implementing these different features? And how do you deal with that going forward?
Are there some common questions that all potential customers ask or should be asking?
Well, what do we have in place right now? And what are my current vulnerabilities based on our current maturity level? Definitely doing a security posture assessment, understanding where you are today is critical, because if you don't know where you are right now, you don't really know how to improve. So an initial snapshot, an initial, risk score, just an initial understanding of what you have in place today is kind of the critical, kind of foundational starting point, if you will. You got to know where you are if you're going to move.
Since there's no dumb questions, Adam, I'm going to ask this. Cyber resilience is not the same as cybersecurity, correct? They are different.
Yeah, cyber resilience is an element of cybersecurity in the standpoint that it's how are you identifying things? How are you protecting your assets? How are you just detecting bad actors in your environment? How are you going to respond? And then how are you going to recover? Right? So there's elements to resilience. Cybersecurity is kind of a overarching term of, do I have SIM implemented? Do I have antivirus? Do I have firewall with policies? Do I have zero trust? Cybersecurity is kind of a practice. Resilience is like building upon that practice. Like, are you a blue belt in jiu-jitsu or are you a black belt in jiu-jitsu? Like, how resilient are you? Are you a new grunt infantry person or are you a seasoned, operator in special forces and have all this training? Like, where are you in the current chain of experience and resilience?
You mentioned earlier a security posture assessment. What makes up a security posture assessment?
I'm glad you asked, Paul. No, a security posture assessment. A security posture assessment takes to kind of it's a holistic look at an environment and an organization. It takes a look at what policies you currently have in place and then what features of security you have. So we went through kind of the key pieces of resiliency, right? Mm-hmm. So identify, protect, respond, recover, and detect. What do you have that helps you execute those? Can you identify a threat? Can you detect the threat once it's in the environment? Can you isolate it from a response standpoint? What are your policies built around to recover it? When do you declare an incident? When you declare it, what does that mean? So you have your policies, and then you have your capabilities, and then you have your maturity. Like you got great. You got all these tools. We had an organization we worked with. They spent millions of dollars on tools. Problem was they kind of installed them, but then didn't quite manage what they had installed. And it's a daily responsibility to manage those assets, manage those tool sets, and make sure they're performing what you invested in the first place. So a security posture assessment lets you know, okay, you have the framework in place, you have the policies in place, you have the tools, and you have the ability to operate those tools ongoing.
Got it. I realized what I am, Adam. I am that person in the game of T-ball who runs up and places the ball right in front of you so you can just hit a home run. So I'm just asking these questions. You're like, well, I'm glad you asked, Adam. Bang! Home run.
Tee him up, Paul. Tee him up.
Oh, Adam, get ready. Here's another one. Is this the same as a firewall review or a pen test?
So that's an aspect of a security posture assessment. So a penetration test is going to let you know vulnerabilities on the network layer, any type of ports or any type of vulnerabilities you have, penetration external, right? So I know your IP addresses. I know what kind of firewall you have at the edge, or I don't. Let me see, are they patched? Can I get through? You can do penetration tests that kind of shake the doors a little bit, rattle the windows a little bit to see if anyone left anything unlocked. Or you can try to kick in the door. If it's a known exploit and you want to exploit it and see if you can get through, we do both of those. The other one is a firewall review, which is how are you enforcing your policy? If all of a sudden at 2 o'clock in the morning, I have a connection request or a VPN or a tunnel tries to establish connectivity to our firewall somewhere Eastern Europe or somewhere, in a place where you typically wouldn't get those types of connection requests, what's your policy for allowing that traffic onto your network?
How often should you be rattling these windows and checking these doors?
So penetration tests, you can do those, anywhere between once and 4 times a year. Most insurance companies are requiring that you do it at least twice a year as a minimum. You can do them as much as quarterly. We run some tools that help with your kind of an ongoing. It's not a constant penetration test, but it's more of a operational score and how the rest of the world sees you. And that's constantly monitoring your environment. So things change every single day. It's not always good to wait 2 quarters to evaluate a change. People are changing. Like we talked about Disney earlier today, right? That application, when they add a new restaurant or when they add a new ride or they add a new feature, that fundamentally changes the application. They're testing that stuff every single day. So if you're updating code, updating application, updating your network, you definitely want to test it when those changes are made and make sure that you didn't, inadvertently leave something open.
That's a good point. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so at the 5th grade level, kind of like Rob was talking about, you're constantly building a house and you constantly have bad actors trying to get in the house. So as you make additions, as you build on that house, you want to make sure it's secured. So part of that building process is, hey, do I got the deadbolts installed, right? Do I have the locks on the windows? Do I have the shrubs peeled back so someone can't hide, by my entry points? Do I have exterior lighting on? Do I have motion sensor? All that kind of stuff, just common sense physical security, just apply it to the digital world, right? As you're adding onto your house, as you're building out your castle, that's just a digital asset that you have to maintain the same way you would, your physical environment.
And we should mention, if you ever need a cybersecurity check, you can always reach out to Quest. We would love to hear your concerns and what we can help you with.
Yeah, we have virtual security teams that help people with those posture assessments and certainly can help them with ongoing support. That's a big part of what we do.
Adam, thanks for jumping on today, joining us. I realized after Disneyland you needed to come back to work to make some money because you spent it all.
I did. I'm currently just wiring my paycheck directly to Disneyland, I think for the next month or 2, but we'll be caught up soon and hopefully the mouse doesn't break my kneecaps. But yeah.
On the positive side, you had those great photos with you guys all holding lightsabers. That was a pretty cool shot.
We did have lightsabers. I did have the Mandalorian helmet on at one point. It was a $500 helmet. I didn't buy that, but it was a $500 helmet.
That was $500.
That was real. That was real metal. That was and it had a light on it and a laser. It had the Predator light kind of going on the side of it. That thing was really, really cool. I saw the guy polishing it behind the counter and he's like, "You want to try it on?" I'm like, "Yes, I do. Yes, I do want to try that on."
It's pretty awesome. Adam, I've had a pretty successful week too. I beat Mario Brothers 1 and 2, which I'm pretty excited about. So I'm living life.
It's impressive.
We're both doing things, Adam. We both made life choices.
Exciting. Very cool.
Mm-hmm. So guys, this is special episode 24 of the Incident Report. Adam, thanks for hanging out. This is fun.
Yeah, no, thanks as always, Paul. Really appreciate it. And like we kind of talked about, if anyone ever has any questions around cybersecurity or helping folks out, we'd love to chat.
We'll see you next week. Have a good one. Thanks so much for listening. The Incident Report is brought to you by Quest Technology Management. With over 40 years of experience, Quest is a leading technology integrator working seamlessly with your staff and systems to achieve your IT goals. Learn more about everything they do at questsys.com. And if you have questions or suggestions for the podcast, you can always email Adam and myself at theincidentreport@questsys.com. We hope you have a great week, and we'll see you next time.